Hello there, this is DBT and this Art of Rooms. And alright, let's continue playing some more Asphalt 9 on Nintendo Switch, and today I'll be driving my 𝐓𝐚 R1515 multiplayer to determine how far can it take me? And oh boy, I've been waiting for a moment to make a video on this particular car in this particular version of the game, because over here it's actually not that bad. And I'm gonna be playing in Ghost, because that is the series that is active at the moment. If we have a look at the rating that I'm at, I'm somewhere in the middle of the Gold League. In fact, I'm 80 points away from reaching Platinum. Will I be able to do it with this car? I would say that's likely. If anything, because oh boy, this car is fast. But first, let's have a look at how I have it upgraded. Basically, I have it 75% into gold. That is to say that I'm missing the epic parts of one of the four stats. In this case, handling is the one that I don't have the epics on, but the rest is at gold stat. Now, for a Class B car at a top speed of 370, it's really fast. In fact, it's about 4 kilometers slower than a very well-known, very fast car in Class B, that being the Apollo N. Now, if you want to compare it against something else that is also really damn fast, for example, the McLaren 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿, that one goes 377. 377. Now, granted, that is 7 kilometers faster, but still, this should give you an idea of just how fast this thing is. Now, for acceleration, it's not great, but it's, you know, it's a little bit on the slow side, but it's not unworkable. Now, the bad part over here will be the handling at 45. And again, it will probably increase a tiny little bit once I apply the epics, once I get them, but still, it's bad. And then we have the nitro at 85. Holy moly, this nitro is absolutely bonkers. So we have a car that, to a certain extent, if you really stretch it out, you could even compare it a tiny little bit with the McLaren 𝐓𝐚𝐿. Or can you? Now, if you like my content, please hit the like button, subscribe, and if you really like my stuff and want to support me, let's consider joining the Vroom membership. Now, before someone gets upset at me trying to compare this with the McLaren 𝐓𝐚𝐿. Alright, let's not mince words. This car drifts horrible. That is the main problem with this car. Well, something like the McLaren 𝐓𝐚𝐿 is very fast with really good nitro. That thing drifts amazing. This one, it's horrendous. Now, the drift radius of this thing, it's not great, but I wouldn't say it's a straight up garbage tier. The main problem with this car's drift is I'm fine. That was intentional. The main problem with this car's drift, it's the drift speed. Holy moly, this thing loses speed like there's no tomorrow. And when you play with this car in global, it's like, yep, nope, there we go. Here comes a turn. I'm gonna lose all of my speed. That's basically how it goes. So it might go really fast, but it just can't keep it around tight corners where drift is necessary. Now, this is why I said that I wanted to play this car with this car in this version of the game, because here on the Switch, as I've mentioned that a bunch of times, the drift in this game is different. Now, I already made a video precisely showing how a car that is considered a bad car, well, not bad, but you know, not amazing because of drift issues, which is the Aventador or Super Veloce in Class A. I made a video on how that thing, I went on the wrong route, but we're still fine. I made a video showing that it actually can perform pretty alright over here. The link's on the top right if you want to check it out. But for now, first place, what was I racing against though? Let me check real quick. And Huara BC, holy moly, I was already racing Class A. Huracan NSX GT3, but that's Class C. Sexto Elemento, beautiful car, Invencible, and 2 Apollo N's. Alright, look at that, first place. Lovely stuff. Ooh, and speaking of the McLaren 𝐓𝐚𝐿, there's one in this race, so let's see. But yeah, so the problem with this car is that, right, it loses a lot of speed. Over here in the Switch, thanks to the gasless drift, this car can actually do the drift without losing too much. Well, it still loses a lot of the speed. There's no two ways about that. But, oh, excuse me, what was that? That was half a word, half a verb. It still loses a lot of the speed, but comparatively speaking, a lot less than it would normally do in the global version. Now, you still gotta be careful when you're drifting with this car in this version of the game, because if you go for a long drift, you're still gonna lose a ton of speed, even if you're going gasless. And then on top of that, like I mentioned earlier, in general, the gasless drift, well, in general, the drift of this car is not amazing, not extremely wide, but still not fantastic. And then if you do gasless drift, then the drift is worse, because that is the counter of, or the side effect of gasless drift. Yeah, you keep more speed, but it's a worse drift. So that's another thing that you need to keep in mind when you're thinking about, oh, this car is so OP in this version of the game. But listen, there's no way to say it or no way to look at it. This car, it's a pretty alright car for Class B, considering that it's a quote-unquote free-to-play car. Now I say quote-unquote because, well, okay, what is that thing that is so far ahead? Is that the VLF by any chance? By the way, the VLF is another car that kind of shines a little bit over here in the Switch version, but okay. I'll talk about the freeness of this car in a second. No, it was the 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿. Alright, fair. Again, that car, like I said, maybe the stats may be a tiny bit comparable, even though the 𝐓𝐚𝐿, it's 7 kilometers faster, but still. But no, honestly, the 𝐓𝐚𝐿's drift just makes all the difference. So as I was saying, this car is technically free to play because you don't need to spend money in order to get this car. Now the problem with this car is that it takes forever for you to acquire, because this is one of the cars that you can get through the Legend store, but exclusively with the trade coins, or as some other people call it, the red tokens. And those things you can only get by, you know, selling your import parts and all of that stuff. So, and then you have to buy quite a bit of blueprints. Now this is, because this is a relatively old car, it doesn't need like a gajillion blueprints, but this is still a 5-star car. So it's still gonna require a decent amount of them, and considering that the blueprints are sort of expensive, it's gonna take you an extremely long amount of time in order to get this car. In fact, by the time that you get it, oh, barely was able to stay in there. See what I'm saying with the drift? You probably are gonna have an easier time getting your Apollo in at 5 stars before you can get this thing at 5 stars as well. So yeah, it's not exactly an easy car to get, and like I said, it's a very interesting one because with that speed and that nitro, it looks like it's such an absolute beast. But again, the drift is unbelievably, or an unbelievable handicap. But still, look at that, first place, and we just reached Platinum League, defeated, okay, Grand Sport, there was a sin, look at that, lower rank, but still, 4 Hurricanes Dorados, excuse me, Evo Spiders, and Glickenhaus 003S, and Hurricanes Dorado in this game. Now, if you're considerably new to this game, or you've never paid attention to this, and you're wondering, okay, DBT, you're making a lot of noise about the speed of this car, just how fast is it? Well, it's faster than the average Class A car. In fact, it's about as fast as an unepicked, I mean, that is to say, a car without epic import parts, an unepicked Victor as an unepicked Onyx. That's just how fast this thing is. It's really damn fast. Like I said, there's still faster cars in Class B, but those start to be other than the... Oh, God, here's the drift issues. Other than the Apollo N, which is a... Oh, God, the drift is still so bad. Look at that. Over there, it wasn't an open or a gasless drift. That one was a straight up full gas drift because I needed it. But over here, that's gasless. You saw I was able to stay within 300 kilometers an hour. That's a drift that probably under normal circumstances, you're gonna expect it to go to like 250 or even lower. Hold on. That's a Huayra BC in front of me. See, I said what, like 320, I think? That's pretty damn quick. I mean, considering what this car would normally do. And then with that extremely long nitro duration, I was somehow able to stay around that Huayra BC, which is a mid-class A car. Actually good, but still, yeah, Huayra BC. I did beat another Huayra BC, VLF, and the Hurricane is not surprising. But look at that, the VLF is also an even faster car than this. Not by much, but still faster. Jesus Christ. In fact, I even planned a bit of a test just to show you the difference of the grips in this game. Here in Auckland, thanks to Quick Race, the thing that we do have in this version of the game, beautiful. I'm gonna set it as 2 laps, because over here there's the last turn before we get to the checkpoint or whatever, to the finishing the lap. It has this turn that I want to show you the difference between doing it with quote-unquote regular drift and gasless drift, so you have an idea of why this car in this version of the game can do pretty alright. So this is gonna be the plan. I'm gonna be doing this lap, and I'm gonna stay around this line on the left side, and when this yellow thing on the left side ends, this is when I'm gonna start drifting, and then I'm gonna take this turn once with full quote-unquote grip, meaning the regular drift where you're still using gas, and then I'm gonna do the gasless drift, so you can see the difference in the speed. So And just to kind of clarify a little bit, the gasless drift, again, being a thing that it's exclusive here on the Nintendo Switch version, you can still not do it by just still holding gas as you are drifting, which should make the drift much closer to what it is in the global version. I'm not sure if it's one-to-one to the drift of the global version, but it's still, you're definitely going to be able to see the difference over here as I do it. So again, remember, in the area that I showed you, I'm going to be going without nitro, just regular full speed. Here we go. Once the yellow thing on the left side ends, not this one, the next one, is when the drift begins. So here we go. So I slowed down to what, like 240 I think I saw? Not great, is it? Now building the speed and ready for the gasless drift. Begins now. And there we go. I was like 311 or something. I think you can see what I'm talking about in terms of the drift being much better like this, right? I think it's visible. But anyway, we're back to multiplayer, still fighting some Class A cars. I still see a 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿 over there. But yeah, let's see how it does. Again, thanks to this slightly better drift or slightly better drift speed, if you use it smartly, this car can put up a pretty good fight even against some low mid Class A cars. Obviously, if I'm going to be fighting the proper strong cars of Class A, this car doesn't have a chance simply because, well, the other ones are just too good at drifting. But in general, when you're thinking all the way to the common, oh boy, was that too high? Oh god, I'm fine, I'm not panicking, you are panicking. If you're racing against, let's say, the free-to-play normal Class A cars, look at this drift. I went gasless, but I still lost a ton of speed simply because it was a long drift. So yeah, again, gasless, it's useful, but it's not the end-all be-all of making cars OP or anything. But yeah, probably. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of a, oh god, I bounced a little bit of a wall right over here. Up to something like, I don't know, Porsche 918 Spiders, you know, that level of car, I think they still can put up a decent fight. Oh yeah, this was pain. And by the way, that was full gas drift as well to try to make it as tight as I could, but man, still, the drift, I'm telling you, gasless or gasful, it's still not great. Alright, so look at that Valhalla, and actually the 918 Spider, when I was talking about it, beat me, but I did fit an event of the J and the 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿s, but yeah, they barely count for anything. And before someone gets upset at me for besmirching the name of the 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿, if it's a car that you really like, I'm not saying the car is bad, everybody knows the car is not bad, it's really good. Just that here in Ghost Season, it's not necessarily the best car to drive simply because, well, being Ghost Season, there is a lot of opportunity for players with other cars that may not be as agile to just continue doing the race peacefully since there's no collision with anybody. They get to drive as good as they possibly can and keep their speed as much as they can as well. All right, look at, still, it beats me on the drift side, that 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿, but come on. Give me just some straights and I'll get past that 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿. Now, granted, the acceleration of the 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿 is still so damn powerful that it... was that the 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿? I think that was a 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿. Alright, I was gonna talk about the acceleration and all of that stuff, and then he proceeds to drive. But yeah, the acceleration is still very powerful in the 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿, so obviously in jumps and things like that, it gives it a pretty good opportunity to get some speed really damn quickly, but in general, you know, it's not the best thing out there. I also saw a Vanda in this race. Oh no, I ranked out! Oh no! Ah, Jesus. Okay, I would have gotten that second place, but I went a little bit too sharp on that drift, and I ended up ringing out because, of course, yeah, it was the Vanda who beat us all. Now, granted, the Vanda is also a slow car, but you know, the Vanda is really damn strong overall, so it's a bit of a different situation than the 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿, I would say. Now, if you're thinking, so DBT, would you say that I should go for this car, especially with Unite comment and all of that stuff? No, just don't. Listen, if you're just going for the collection, sure, go for it. If you have the trade coins in order to buy the blueprints, go for it. And, you know, maybe, yeah, I mean, the blueprints show from time to time, so if you have enough, buy it. But just be aware that this car is not going to take you very far under normal circumstances. It's plenty usable for Class B races, but that's going to be it. And even then, on the upper end of the Class B races, you may have a little bit of trouble again because of that that issue with the drift, but so long as you're cognizant of this situation, then it's an interesting car to go for, because like again, the combination of this top speed with that nitro, it makes it into a very interesting and fun car to be driving around. But yeah, it definitely is a much better car here on the Switch with gasless drift than it is without it. So that is the one thing to keep in mind, because yeah, I don't want you to be extremely disappointed like, oh my god, DBT was showing the car can compete against Class A cars, but I drove it and every time that I do a drift, I lose half of my speed or even more than that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a situation here, and that is why I wanted to make this video here on the Switch, because, you know, it is known by now. GameLoft has confirmed that gasless drift is going away here on the Switch, so I gotta enjoy these cars that have the bad drift normally, and over here at least they can compete. In fact, if you have some more ideas of what other cars I can make a video before we lose gasless drift so that I can test them a little bit, let me know in the comments, because I would love to see that. And once again, if you like my content, first, hit the like button, subscribe, and all of that stuff. For this race, I just defeated everything, including a Peugeot Onyx, the Lambo, Huracan, Aston Martin Victor, Vulcan is a slow one, Aventador SV, no, that's an SVJ and a Vulcan. Okay, that one disconnected, but still, pretty good result. So, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.